It sounded beautiful, and I wanted to go there. So I got a voluntary position in a nature reserve called Mokolodi, where I ran the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. And here I looked after a range of different animals and loved them all. But two particular came into my care, which was two cheetah brothers called Duma and Lutotsi. And I fed them every day and I cared for them. I would come into their enclosure and they would come around and purr, and I would stroke them, and I just obviously fell in love with them. So I thought, well, I'd really love to get involved in cheetah conservation, and I found out that there wasn't anything going on in the country for the conservation. So I thought, well, here's my opportunity to make a difference in the world. Let me try and start up a project. So it was a very exciting process over the last 10 years to see something go from a piece of paper and a few scribbled ideas to an organization that now employs 12 people and works across the Kalahari. And I'm now going to tell you a bit about I'll have one more slide first. As well as being a fantastic flagship species for the Kalahari, they also demonstrate the key wildlife threats that are in Botswana today. Back in the 1970s, Botswana lost about 70% of its migratory herds of antelopes due to human expansion into the Kalahari. And that happened because the EU wanted Botswana to produce beef. And so they subsidized Botswana to make some innovations to make it easier to farm. So they sank deep boreholes across the Kalahari, making it possible to farm those areas all year round, whereas in the past and historically they'd only been farmed seasonally. So the landscape then has a chance to recover. But by grazing all year round, it puts a really heavy sort of burden on the landscape. So the expansion of the cattle industry moved people into these wild areas that had never previously been utilized for permanent grazing. And we're seeing a lot of overgrazing of the land and desertification today. And they also put up a lot of fences, veterinary cordon fences, which split up the sort of movement and migratory routes between a lot of the large antelope species. So a lot of them died at that time. And as the prey populations went down and increasing livestock herds happened, there was increasing conflict with all of the carnivore species: lions, leopards, cheetahs, wild dogs, jackals. All of them are under threat due to these issues that I'm describing are the cheetah's main threats today. And for many of these wide-ranging animals, particularly cheetahs and wild dogs, the protected areas really were not sufficient to conserve adequate wildlife populations. We have fantastic wildlife areas in Botswana, but we tend to find that there's high densities of lions in those areas, so they're not ideal for the sort of